Enough. I said enough. Another word and you'll all be here till 5 o'clock. It's nothing to me. I've got all the time in the world. I didn't even get to the other end of the corridor before there was such a din. All the other teachers started opening their doors as much as to say, what the hell's going on? There's somebody talking now. Who was it? You, Mr. Man. I did not accuse you, I asked you. Someone in the back row? You're the losers, not me. Who is that? Right. Hands on heads. Come on, all of you. That includes you. Put that comb away. Eyes front. Sit up straight. You I'm talking to. Stand on your seat. Keep your hands on your heads. Eyes front. That joker at the back. Keep looking out here. Eyes front. Hands on heads. Who said move? Nobody said move. The next one who groans stands on his seat. Right. We're going to have 1 minute's perfect silence now, if we have to wait till midnight. That's nice. I like that. Now, try to hold it like that while I get to this machine gun over here. All right, I've got little joke, no more laughing. Eyes front, hands on heads. Who did that? Whoever did that can open the window before we all get gassed. Wait a minute, 3 of you. What are you, group? 1 go. 1 nearest the window. Eyes front, hands on heads. Right. That characteristic performance from our friend near the window means we return to go. Shall I make it 2 minutes? We could have had this sooner, instead of sitting here when the rest of all... Well, let's all think of what we could be doing, instead of sitting here and the rest have all gone home. Yeah. Eyes front, hands on breasts. Stop the laughter! Who wants to start another minute? And whatever the great joke is, whatever it is that has so tickled your Stone Age sense of humour, when all my efforts have failed, save it till you're outside. I'm going to the staff room now to fetch my coat, and you'll be as quiet as mice, no fish, till I get back. I don't want to hear a sound. Not a bubble.
Back, back. No, no. Right. What's that?
What?
On your face?
Where?
Near your eye.
What is it?
What's happening?
Oh, for Christ's sake!
Spider. Oh, great, now get it off.
Ow.
Get it off. Ugh.
I confiscated it from Terry Hughes.
Vicious sod.
Yes, for 13
You
years.
worrying.
In religious instruction.
Funny.
That's what I told him at the time.
I'll get away.
Oh, look.
Why'd you do it, Brian? Honestly, you know that what upset me, and the first thing you
Sorry,
did...
love.
I even kissed you.
Sorry. Oh, love, if only you knew I've been thinking about you today. Let's get to bed, come on.
Oh, don't.
What?
Your hands are cold. You've just come in.
Let's go to bed. Come.
At 4:45.
I came home early, especially.
The usual time.
I was going to keep them in.
Who?
4D.
Did you say you would?
Yes.
To them?
Yes.
So why didn't you?
I kept on thinking our bed, our room, your legs thrashing around.
When are you going to learn?
My tongue halfway down your
You
throat.
must carry out your threats.
Trains screaming into
They'll
tunnel.
never listen to you if you don't.
Waves breaking up rocky shores. I want you. It's you I want. Look, Kitchener, I want you.
You should have kept them in.
I did for a bit. Then I left them with their hands on heads while I went to fetch my coat from the staff room. Suddenly I couldn't face them anymore, so I never went back. You know how long they sat there? Fatty Brent, Terry Hodges, Glazenbrook, the shop steward. He got a new watch, by the way. Not forgetting Scanlon, the missing link, Pithecanthropus erectus.
Has he flashed it lately?
Not at the teachers, anyway.
Only that once.
The once is the only time it was reported.
Poor girl.
Some of the older women might have kept quiet. Hope for some more.
Whatever happened to that girl?
Never heard of her since.
Not surprising.
Shortest teaching career on record, 35 minutes. No, I don't hate Scanlon anymore. That's all a thing of the past. I just look at him and wonder, is he just a monster of my own imagining? Yes, nurse. He's strangled a little girl. But it only means he's lonely. We must make him a mate. Take it this morning. There I was on playground duty, sipping my Nescafe and dreaming of a sudden, painless road accident and an end to it all. Suddenly there was a silence. Too quiet for comfort. Some of the wild round sniggering and casting crafty glances. I looked round in time to see Scanlon sidling into the girls' bar. I went to the door and I said, "That boy, out of it!" Saw this figure zipping up his flies in a panic. It wasn't Scanlon at all.
No.
The new relief teacher.
Oh, no!
Yes.
Funny that way.
Not at all. He didn't know it was the girls. Only looks about 12, even from the front. Even dresses like them. Why doesn't he wear the right bloody uniform? Tweedy jacket, leather elbows. At least we know whose side it is.
Oh, never mind. You break up in 2 days.
I broke up years ago. Shall I put my gloves on?
What's the point of starting now? Jo's home in a minute.
Well,
she's got to be fed, bathed, exercised, put to bed. You know that.
she can wait.
What?
Well, can't she?
Why should she? Anyway, my rehearsal's at 7, and I promised to paint some scenery before that. I shouldn't be late, but your dinner's in the oven on automatic. Take it out any time after 7. You'll never believe the job I had finding a miniature bottle of Kirsch. And the local license they offered Spanish Van Rose instead. Luckily I was going to town, so I got it there. Had to take all those old clothes into the unmarried mothers. Only collecting moths.
Collecting moths? The unmarried mothers?
The clothes! And all the wildlife there. The cats, the guinea pigs, the goldfish, the stick and snakes.
Gingerbread moths?
All the plants. I'll remember not to let the cats, and I found a flea in here again today. And this afternoon, I did my Upton collection. I looked after Jenny's children while she got her coil fitted. Quite a bit one way or another. What you thinking?
Just wondering if you could have a guinea pig fitted with a coil. Oh, Henry Sow should it be? Last now I'm wrong.
Oh, if you had a bad day, why didn't you come with me?
Bad day? You should have seen the staff room. Christmas spirit nearly at the breaking point. I say, I'm sure that's my trick that you're using. Sod off. I beg your pardon? Sod off, matey. Come outside and say that. Throw up. No, I insist. Come. I sang great tidings of comfort and joy, fell on stony ground. I said to my class, right, Christmas decorations, paper chains. Deep voice from the back said, kid stuff. I frowned and realized I'd never seen him before. Turns out he was the older brother of one of the more backward boys, on the dole, coming out of the cold. Been sitting in classes all day, nobody noticed.
Did you throw him out?
What for? When he brought me up his paper chain, he said, "You're not much good at teaching, are you, mate?"
I should have hit him.
He meant it nicely. I must find something else.
Oh, come with me to rehearsal. Do you good to get out, see some people.
What people? Fred.
Plenty of whiskey after.
I would need whiskey first.
All right, well.
If I was going to see Fred.
All right.
I'm watching you capering around with muck all over your face.
Should I call your mother and
Oh, that, what a swinging prospect. My mother, Fred.
I seem to remember.
And all that courage bubbling away now.
I seem to remember it was you who introduced me to Freddie in the first place.
There's Joe.
Remember that. And at least I don't sit about coining Hellberg and wallowing in self-pity. At least I do something about it.
You and Freddie together, yes.
At least I try to make life work instead of... Honestly. Get away from the door, then you won't get stepped on.
Home again, safe and sound. You've been a good girl. Really good. Lady on the bus said you were good. Sat by the driver, did you? Saw the Christmas trees. And the shops all lit up. What's that? Saw Jesus? Where was it? Where was Jesus? Oh, I see.
Oh, my great big beautiful darling, home at last. Got a great big beautiful kiss for Mummy. I'm lovely, she says.
Mad, she says, but lovely.
She been a good girl, Dad, did the lady say?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Sat by the driver.
Did you sit by the driver? Did you, lovely?
Saw the Christmas trees.
Oh, did you see the Christmas trees? What a clever girl.
And Jesus.
Jesus?
All bathed in light, in the sky.
She got a screw loose, Dad?
No, ma'am.
You seen Jesus?
On top of the electricity building.
Oh, thought she was off her chump for a minute, Dad.
Yeah, seeing Jesus in a dump like this, I'm not surprised, Mum. But no, she's doing well, they say.
Oh, Daddy's pleased you're trying, love. What, you're 11 plus on the way?
Yes, just find yourself a decent school.
Oh, I won't be shunted into some secondary modern slum, she says.
No, like the one where Daddy works.
Share a room with 40 or 50 council house types and blackies.
No, she says, I see enough of those at the spastics nursery. You want to go to that training centre, help make the ballpoint pens.
Oh, I'm trying my hardest, she says.
You keep it up. Here's a letter from Mrs.
Oh, the nursery?
School report, Mum. Thank you for the present for Colin's birthday, which is coming.
Little boy had meningitis.
Never stops whimpering.
That's it.
Did you send him any happy returns?
And I sent him a card and a happy bunny.
Oh well, it's a thought that counts. Most of the parents remembered, and the kitchen ladies made a cake with 7 candles on it. And then we held Colin up so he could see the candles burning. And then we helped him blow them out.
Oh.
The physiotherapist lady came today and saw us all. She said that Josephine's shoulders are showing signs of improvement. Keep up the exercises, she says.
Do your homework like a good girl. Daddy help.
Yes, she won't be helping, of course. She's going out for a bit on the side.
Let me call your mother, please.
Hello, hello, what's this? What's this I see? She had a few fits today, but it must have been the excitement over Colin's cake.
Now, why is that, I wonder?
Now, just you listen to me, my girl.
I thought we'd got over there.
How are you going to raise yourself above the general level if you're going to keep having fits?
This is the first for weeks, except an occasional pretty now. Oh, poor kid. Poor Blossom.
Spare the rod and spoil the child, Mum.
I don't know why they've started.
Welfare state. Life's too easy these days. Show jumping, physiotherapy, free milk, singing in candles. What sort of singing in candles did we get when we were kids? Air aid and clothing coupons. And if we didn't like that, my mother used to say, that'll be all you're getting, my son.
Oh, that's correct. That explains it.
What?
They've run out of anticonvulsant suspension again.
Again?
Excitement over Colin's cake, or perhaps because we've used up all her yellow letters.
Call themselves a day centre.
How many times is this?
Why don't they keep a few spare bottles in the fridge? Most of the kids use
The
it.
month they use, they should have it on draft.
Yes. Drawn to the nurseries and day centres in barrels by a dirty great fleet of dray horses.
And here, in the city pharmacy, you can stand as I am standing now,
at the nerve center of this great operation of mercy, and watch the myriad craftsmen at their various chores. Or something less trad, something a little bit more in keeping with the technological advancements of today. A central pumping station with a vast complex of underground culverts and sluice gates.
Soon be better, my flower.
Nah, they'd never stand for it.
Who?
Bristol's ratepayers cost a fortune.
Lovely orange.
Too fond of the ceremonial, the bullshit.
Oh, there's a clever girl.
New life to dying crafts, horse brasses in the sun, the tang of the cooper's apron, Dagenham girl pipers.
A special treat. Mummy got her favourite ice cream for tea. Tell Mummy, are you wet? Oh, soaking.
The snappy's dry.
Oh, honestly, they started doing that again. Leaving the one I sent in the bag and letting her sit like Joe Egg in the damp all day. Her parts get spree.
Well, she might have been dry before she had the fit.
Well, she could hardly have gone all day without a wee.
No.
Oh, will you change her? I must go and get ready. If she's spreed, there's ointment in the cupboard. And if I were you, I'd put on the kitchen floor to change her.
I'm not the new nanny.
Of course not.
I've done it before, once or twice in the past 10 years.
Oh, Brian, let me call your mother.
What for?
So that we can go out.
Tuesday night? There were much to go. The zoo's shut. There's a western on at the Go-Mart.
Come with me to rehearsal. We'll get drunk if you like, but not too drunk to bring me home and have me.
How did I?
What?
Not in front of the child.
H-A-V-E. Seriously, shall I?
Hey, listen. What's it like with Fred? No, come on, you've told me about the others.
Let
Not
go.
all of those, but a sample. A cross.
I should buy it.
Those are because of some exceptional features stood out from the
They were
crowd.
all before I met you.
And Freddie's now.
Oh.
What's his speciality?
Even if he wanted to, which he doesn't.
You must think I'm soft.
Freddie would run a mile from a breath of scandal.
Now, come on, what's his gimmick?
Come and ask him.
For instance,
Why don't you?
you said those four Americans.
What? Where'd you get that?
What?
4 Americans.
Wrong.
2 Americans.
Ah.
1 Canadian.
You said that they went my across a pillow. I think they must have got that anyway. And then there was the stoker, the Welsh.
He wasn't a stoker, he was a policeman.
Oh, yes. Anyway, he was shocked because you used bad words in a posh accent. But when it came to getting your frock off, he was so ravenous, he tore it.
I wish I'd never told you anything. You said we should be honest. You told me about yours first.
Oh, yes, all 3. That took about an hour. Then for the next few weeks, you made a short.
You made me.
Well, you must have enjoyed those fellas at the time.
No.
1 or
I
2.
told you.
Then why carry on with it?
Well, once you get to a certain stage with a man, it's hard to say no.
Oh, most women manage all right. With me, anyway. 3 out of God knows how many tens of thousands I tried.
They didn't know a good thing when they saw it. Well, you were the only one who gave me any pleasure.
When you first told me that I was knocked out, I walked around for days feeling like a palace. I thought, well, perhaps I didn't ring the bell very often, but at least I rang it loud. She'll stay with me, I carried on happily, because I've got magic super zoom with added cold start.
You have.
Until Freddie.
Oh, you...
Oh, people.
He's never been near me.
I think we should be honest, even about him.
He leaves me cold.
And yet you'd rather spend the evening with him than me.
Look, you pushed me into this drama. You said I should get out.
What's his speciality? His forte? Does he keep his mouth? You're looking pale, Joe. Is it those nasty fits? Never mind. Lovely soft hands you've got. Like some ladies' hands. They've never done right one. Now, Mum's going to take up part, practice her acting. So we'll have a chinwag around the oil meter, chew the fat, watch TV. There's a film on about an eminent surgeon and his fight against injustice in London's East End. I know you can't resist a doctor. You think of what they did to her. But first, Daddy make her a lovely tea. Joe and Daddy have tea, then Joe have a nice hot bath. Play with the ducks. You know that noise? That's Mummy upstairs in the bedroom. Probably Probably taking her dress off now. Maybe putting her stockings on. Or even changing entirely. Every stitch. Naked. Looking at herself in the glass, thinking, I still kept my figure. But I'm not running up those stairs 3 at a time, falling into the bedroom and trembling on the carpet, begging her not to go. No fear. I've done all that I can without total loss of dignity. Might have known once I got a start on these amateur theatrics. She'd turn up at every bloody practice. Terrible sense of duty, your mum. What am I doing talking here? Might as well be talking to the wall. No, but she's a wonderful woman, my wife. That girl upstairs, in the bedroom, off in the wings, wherever she is. She really is. A truly integrated person. Very rare, that is, as you know. I'll give you an example. She's disturbed by anything. Not only mentally upset, not only miserable, but she actually grows ill. Boils, backache, vomiting. No pretense. Real sickness. She works as a whole, not in parts. Unlike me, for instance, I'm instant man. Get one for Christmas. Endless fun. I'm made up as I go along from old ends of string, fagging, magazine cuttings, film clips, all stuck together with wadges of last week's school dinner. What I mean, she couldn't pretend a passion she doesn't feel, whereas I can't sustain a passion till the end of a sentence. I start to cry and I think, who do you think you are, God or something? And things go clang and wheels fall off and people get hurt. Terrible. Well, you must have felt like this, catching yourself having a way in the mirror. Or someone says, my wife's just been run over, and you want to laugh. Well, you may say, why not? That's the way you feel. But other people don't like it. So I pretend. You saw me pretend with Sheila just now. I try to imagine what emotions appeal to her. And then I sink my teeth in. And I don't let go until that bone dry. Like with Joe then. All right, I was all doomy at first, but 10 years. I just go through the motions now. Sheila, how can I put it in a way that will prevent a sudden stampede to the exit doors? Sheila embraces all living things. She really does. She's simple. So simple, she's bound to win in the end. She's a sane enough person to be able to embrace all living creatures. She sits there embracing all live things. I get my back somewhere between the budgerigar and the stick insect, which is the reason for all this smutty talk. Trying to draw attention to myself so that I get more than my share. Otherwise I'd have to settle for eyes front, hands on hips, and a therapeutic bash once in a blue moon. I'm too young to die, I tell you. What's the matter, crackpot? Language? You think that was language? I'll introduce you to Scanlon. He may have some language. What's the matter? Well, let's see what she's left for tea. Get back, you flea-bitten horse. Get back.
One of these days I'll hit him, honestly. He thinks because he throws a tantrum I'm going to stay at home comforting him. Miss the rehearsal, let them all down. Thinks he's only got to cry to get what he wants. I blame his mother. She gave him the sort of suffocating love which makes him think the world revolves around him. Because he's too intelligent to believe it really, he gets into these paddies and depressions. When he's one of those, he'll do anything to draw attention to himself. Oh, that beetle on his face, you saw that? And all the stuff about Freddie. And yet it was Brian who made me join the amateurs in the first place. Said I should get out more. Have a rest from Jo. She's no trouble, it's Brian. I don't know which is the biggest baby. After watching someone as limited as Jo over 10 years, I've begun to realize that she's only one kind of cripple. Well, everybody's damaged in some way. There's a limit to what you can do. Brian, for instance, he goes so far, hits the ceiling, or just can't fly any higher. Then he drops to the floor, and we get self-pity again. Despair. Sure, he could go further, though. He could be a marvellous painter. Well, that's another reason I said I'd join the amateurs. The thought that he'd be forced to go upstairs several nights a week and actually put paint on canvas. Even if he isn't any good, seems to need some work he can be proud of. Well, something to take his mind off his jealousy of anyone or anything I take to. Friends, relatives, pets, even pot plants. I'm sure it's because they take up time he thinks I could be devoting to him. And Joe most of all. Look, you mustn't think I feel like this in the ordinary way. And even when I am a bit down, I should normally be talking to a lot of complete strangers about it, but all this childish temper over Freddie, this showing off, it's more than I can stand. It makes me boil, honestly. Wouldn't you feel the same? Well, that's why I'm telling you all this. A lot of total strangers. But wouldn't it make you boil? Honestly. A grown man jealous of poor Joe.
What are you telling them?
What?
I heard you talking. I heard you mention Joe. Sheila's got a theory about Joe's birth. She doesn't blame the doctors. She blames herself.
I don't say that.
It was because she choked it back.
It was partly that.
Because she slept around.
Well, it was partly because I'd been promiscuous, yes. And my subconscious was making me shrink or withdraw from motherhood always.
That figure told us it was the devil's doing. Why don't you believe that? It's about as brilliant.
Well, it comes down in the end to what you believe.
I'll tell you what I believe.
I know what you believe.
But they didn't. I believe it was the doctor who botched it. There's no other reason. That specialist said as much. He said it had nothing to do with the way you lived, or whether there was a nut in the family, or what kind of fags you smoked.
He didn't say the doctor did it either.
No, you're quite right. He didn't say that. He didn't say, yes, he's a shoddy midwife, my colleague, always has been. I'll see he gets struck off the register. Quite right. Quite spoils my argument, that does.
Oh, you're so clever.
Only thing he'd say for certain was it was a chance in a million it would happen again.
We haven't had an opportunity to check on that yet.
It's because of this that Jo lives at home with us.
Well, she's our daughter.
She was on the way before we married.
No need to tell him everything.
It was a white wedding.
For my dad's sake, he was a bell ringer and always looked forward to the day he'd leave the pew as I left the church. You said you didn't mind.
I didn't. At the reception afterwards, the ringers were the only people worth talking to. All crippled and twisted. Picture them hanging at the end of a rope.
We might have taken them for an omen. The baby came 6 months later. I'd done my exercises and read the antenatal books, mostly the ones that made it seem as simple as having a tooth filled.
But more spiritual.
Oh, yes, a lot about you sitting by the bed, holding my hand and looking sincere.
Giving the lead with shallow breathing.
I don't know whether any of you are like me, but I half expected to hear snatches of a hallelujah chorus.
I say, but queasy. The whole idea of sharing the birth seemed irrefutably quite idea, but not quite so gay when it came to the blood and the fluid.
As it happened, you needn't have worried.
No. No! How long do your legs last? 2 hours? 3 hours? A day? Dilettantes. 5 days.
Yes. From the first show on the sheets to the last heave of the forceps, 5 days.
You will be saying he should have done something, but I didn't know at the time. You don't, do you?
You know now.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It's a good experience.
This doctor kept on dragging me.
You were stoned.
Couldn't remember the exercises.
Couldn't even talk. You just kept crying.
Couldn't make anyone understand. Couldn't salivate or swallow, so I stayed hungry. Also, I kept hoping you'd be there when I opened my eyes. It was always your midwife, or your mother.
Not all.
Or nearly always you were getting drunk outside.
What else could I do?
My speech faculty seemed to have gone, so I couldn't tell them to stop the dope so that I could manage the birth.
Then the GP would pop in with his boyish grin and say, "Tell you the truth, old boy, I think this young shaver's not too keen to join us." And I'd say, all this trouble getting out, and he's going to spend the rest of his life trying to get back in again. And then we'd piss ourselves and have another scotch.
You never thought it was going on too long.
Yes, but you trust in them. My mother taught me to believe in doctors. During the labour, she set an example of quiet faith.
And afterwards, when Jo was ill, she said she knew all the time it was going on too long.
She always knows afterwards.
The pain was shocking, but the worst of it was not being able to speak.
On the last day, I thought she was going to die, and I've never told you this, though.
What?
Although not normally a religious man, I don't mind admitting it. I prayed.
Did you really? Not another joke?
No, honestly. I got down on my knees and I prayed to God. I said, God, I've only just found her. The baby doesn't matter. If it's a question of a swap. And I found I was so pissed I couldn't even get up off my knees again.
Never mind, your prayer was answered.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I see him as a sort of manic depressive rugby footballer. He looked down at me and he said, I'll fix that bastard. And he did, too.
By the time the damage was done, they took me to the hospital. The next I knew, they handed me this yellow, hairless baby with forceps scars all over her scalp. She was gorgeous. By the time we got her home, the scars and jaundice were gone and she was in working order. You had a cold.
Yes, that's right.
Well, I had to look after you. It was better than having you turn up every day moaning and sniffling.
It was more than a cold. Flu. A sort of delayed reaction thing. I was quite poorly.
Soon we began to notice these funny turns. We asked our friends who'd had babies, but they said it was most likely wind. So in the end, we took her to our new GP.
Here we go round the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush. Here we go round the mulberry bush, and the mulberry bush.
Doctor. Very nice. Little bone-headed.
Yes, Mrs. You brought that really good. Light is raining there, darling. Cheerio. Next, please. Evening, Mr. Feeling any better?
It's morning, Doctor. Not very reassuring.
Oh, yes, there it is.
And I've never been before.
No?
We're new to the district.
What seems to be the trouble?
I don't really know. Funny turns, face making.
Say,
Not me, the baby.
Oh, doesn't seem anything wrong with this little laddie.
Lassie?
Lassie? Funny turns, you say. How would you describe them?
Oh, frightening.
No. I mean, what form do they take?
Blinking with her eyes, working with her tongue, shaking her head, and then all going limp.
Funny turns indeed. At your age, we are not amused.
What do you think it is?
Wind.
That's what our friends said.
Always wise to get a second opinion. Try bright water.
Yes, of course.
My old mother used to swear by pure anything, she used to say. Well, let's see if we can find it here. That's all I've got it right. Came in the post this morning. Makers praise it very highly.
Doctor, I wish you could see one of these turns.
Oh, I've seen them myself. Got 3 great monsters of my own at home.
Oh, I am sorry.
What?
All your children being...
No! I mean 3 great thriving groups of monsters. You're first, is it? First, baby.
Yes.
Well, you see, it's like this. You're throwing an awful lot of gubbins down the old cake over there. It's rather like running in a new car. Till you get the tappets and the contact breakers adjusted to the absolute thou, you've got to take it easy. Same with these little cabbies. Now, let's see. 3 times daily after meals. How often are you feeding?
Every 4 hours.
4, 6, 7, 6 times daily.
Oh, look, this may be one now. No.
Well, I have a waiting room full of people, you know. Try on the medicine. If she's not all right in, say, a week, bring her back to see me again. Keep her well winded and don't fret. Cheerio. Next, please. Three days later. Next, please. Hello, Mrs.
Oh, Doctor.
Can I get your car?
This child.
Yes, take a seat.
She's gone into a coma.
Didn't I say, a week? Why so soon?
She's gone into a coma.
Did you try the medicine?
She won't take anything. She hasn't fed for 2 days.
hospital quick, please?
Don't panic, my dear, just a routine inquiry. Your husband with you?
Yes, he's in the waiting room. Is she going to...
Hello, I'd like to take a shot near the baby. Girl.
Yes.
Baby girl. Offer a chow, failing to respond to any stimuli whatever. Got a car?
No.
Hello, no car, any chance of an ambulance? Understood.
There's something seriously wrong, isn't there?
Don't fret, my dear. You see, it's rather like when the starter motor gets jammed in a motor car. Seems serious at the time. Stick her into second gear, rock her back and forth a few times. She'll soon be as light as rain. Same with these little chappies, you know. Now, what I want you to do, you know the kiddies' hospital? You and the old man get down there as soon as possible. Not forgetting to take the baby, of course. You'll catch a bus at the end of the street. And remember, nil desperandum. Cheerio. 32.
What?
The number of the bus. 32.
On the bus I said to Brian, I've got a feeling we shan't bring her back. But as you know, we did, eventually.
Every clown has a jet black line.
I stayed with her in hospital a few weeks and then left her there having tests and came home to look after Brian, who'd contracted impetigo. It was painful not feeding, so Brian knelt in front of me and tried to express it orally.
You should have seen it. It was like Kama Sutra.
In the end, a woman from the clinic drew it off with a sort of glass motor horn. A few weeks later, they called me to collect Jo from hospital, at which point we gathered she wasn't ever going to amount to much. But we were determined to know the best we could expect, and the worst. The paediatrician was German or Viennese, I'm not too sure.
Here we go round the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush. Here we go round the mulberry bush on the frosty morning.
Get ready. This baby of yours has been thoroughly tested, and we need the best for us badly, so I think you better take her home. Keep her well sedated, and you will hardly know she is there.
The doctor!
Yeah?
Can you tell me the results
Results?
of the test?
Which ones? There were so many. Electrocardiogram, three-dimensional X-rays, blood, stool, and urine analysis. This business with the needles and the fontanelle.
So while her hair shaved off,
But of course,
she'd just begun to grow it. And did the needles make that scar?
scar.
Oh, there.
Ah, nine. This was a little biopsy, taking a sample of brain tissue.
Oh, that's a relief. I thought at first you'd bored a hole in her skull to let the devil out.
Oh, good. Did we try, sir? My colleague says we don't use it anymore. Pity. Well, you excuse me.
Doctor!
Jonathan Gibson.
What can she do?
She can do nothing.
Will she ever?
Well, let me try and explain to you what your daughter is like. Do you know what I mean when I say your daughter was a vegetable?
Yes. You mean your daughter was a vegetable?
Ah, yes, it is, always will be. I have trouble with the English word.
But when people say to me, what kind of cripple is your child, should I say she's a vegetable? A vegetable?
You want a name for her? Well, you could say she's spastic, with a damaged cerebral cortex, multiplegic, epileptic, but with no organic malfunctioning of the brain.
That is a long word.
Which is why I prefer vegetable.
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 But why? Well, if her brain's physically sound, why doesn't it work?
Imagine a switchboard, a telephone switchboard, yeah?
I used to work as a switchboard operator once.
This is wonderful. Yeah? Imagine you are sitting there now, in front of the switchboard, So, some lines busy, others waiting to be yours. Suddenly,
Incoming call.
exactly, you Blackie.
Universal shouting. Well, that was the firm I worked for.
You've never put that in before.
I thought I would this time.
Universal shout. Story of your life. But, at that moment, another incoming call. You panic. and you leave the two of them talking to each other. Then the other extension rings, he wants the cricket results, you put him through to the railway station, and so they all start battling and flashing and bouncing. You, little maid, will have all these lives kaput. Now there is your epileptic fit. Your grand or pick him up, according to the stress, the number of course, all right?
Doctor!
No, no, blitz, and I'm away, missing madness.
I know you must be.
Yours isn't the only white man in the country.
No.
There's one born every 8 hours, you know.
No, I didn't know. Is that true?
Oh, yeah, not all as well as his case, of course.
Well, is there anything at all we can do?
Yeah, well, there's lots you must do. You must wash the nappies, you must keep her warm, you must feed her, just like any other mother.
For how long?
Who knows? Anything can happen, you know that. Diphtheria, pneumonia, whooping cough, Colorado beetles.
Oh, that's terrible. Colorado beetle.
I've only just thought of that.
That's terrible.
So, what happened then? We brought her home.
And the hospital passed the can back to our local GP.
The pie can.
He had to supply us with phenobarbital to keep us happy. And he used to come round once a week to explain her fits in layman's terms.
We didn't find out much.
About fits? No. But I learned a lot about what happens on a switchboard when the lines get crossed.
Or at a railway junction during fog.
But the time came when we asked him whose fault it was.
It was then he suggested the vicar might call.
Yes. Nice vicar. Sensitive. So concerned and upset at the sight of Joe. The fits were unusually bad that day, so we left her in her cot and had our chat in another room. Here we go round the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush. Here we go round the mulberry bush, and I go to the morning. Here we are. Do you take a pew?
She's a beautiful child.
Yes, isn't she?
It's tragic. Tell me, when you first realized there was nothing you could do, how did you feel?
Well, of course, you find out gradually, not all at once. But there is a point when you finally accept it, and that's very nasty. You think, why me? I don't know about the other mothers, but I kept saying, why me? Why us all day long? And you get tired of that, and you say, why not me?
Indeed. You learn humility. You realize that we are surely in a vale of towers, and you are no exception.
Well, I recognized that I was worse. I'd been promiscuous, you see. With all kinds of men. I felt that I was responsible for Joe being punished.
No.
No, I don't mean that either. I held the baby back, out of guilt.
My dear, you mustn't blame yourself. Many women who slept around afterwards become splendid mothers. Premarital intercourse is no longer regarded as a serious obstacle to being accepted into the fold.
No.
Oh, yes. You obviously haven't got our publications lately. You should. The good old C.O.E. is a far more swinging scene than you seem to suppose.
I see.
Oh, surely. Where the action is...
I've never committed adultery.
Well, there we are. Fabulous. Crazy. Fantastic. Think no more about it. Tell me, what was your husband's reaction to the child?
Well, he used to say, think of something worse. And that was easy. Jo could have grown older and developed into a real person before it happened. Or she could have been a very intelligent spastic without the use of her limbs, which is worse, I think, than being a kind of living parsnip.
Quote, you count your blessing.
Yes.
And that gives you fortitude.
No, but it's something to do. And when you're up against an obstacle of this kind, an act of God, well, it's so numbing, you feel you must make sense of it, otherwise you...
Give up hope?
Yes. My husband doesn't feel the need to make sense of anything. He lives with despair.
You didn't tell him that.
Why not?
It's a bit saucy.
Why don't you?
Well, can't argue now.
He says I shouldn't try and look for explanations.
Your husband doesn't believe in God.
His own kind of God, a manic depressive rugby footballer.
It's a start. Provides some basis for argument.
He doesn't like me praying.
You have been praying.
What else can I do? I look at that flawless little body, those glorious eyes, and I pray for some miracle to get her started. Seems if only we knew the key or the combination, we could get her moving. Do you think the story of the Sleeping Beauty is about a spastic?
How can we tell? My dear, your child's illness doesn't please God. In fact, it completely brings him down.
Why does he allow it then?
How can we know? Only guess. It could be that disease and infirmity are due to the misuse we've made of the freedom he's given us. It could be that there is a stimulus to research.
Research?
Of disease and infirmity.
But if he didn't commit disease, we shouldn't need research.
But he does. So we do. My dear, the devil is busy day and night. God tries his best, but we don't help him very much. Now and then, some innocent bystander blunders into the crossfire between good and evil. Or imagine a poisonous blight that comes to settle on an orchard of many different varieties of trees.
No, please, no more parables. I've had so many from the doctor.
How can I explain without imagery?
I misled you. I don't want explanations. Ask the people who should have been able to explain, and they couldn't.
What do you want?
Magic.
I was slowly coming round to that. There has been, over the years in this parish, children like your daughter.
Just as bad?
Oh, yes, I'm sure, just as bad. With these poor innocents, I did the laying on of hands bit.
Well, what's that?
Oh, a simple ceremony in your own home. A few prayers, a blessing, a hymn or two, an imposition of hands. Nothing flashy.
Well, who'd be there?
You, your husband, anyone you choose.
My husband.
Yes. It does rather sound as though he's in need of instruction.
Yes.
His prayers can hardly help the rest of a manic depressive rugby footballer. God might feel affronted. He's only human, you know. And of course he isn't. How silly of me.
Perhaps you could have a word with him over a pint.
Oh, your husband, yes. Not that there's anything wrong with rugby. Scrum half myself for many years. It's just that I believe one shouldn't make a religion of it.
With the other children, did you have any luck? Did God, you know?
There was a boy, no better than Joe, made such a rapid recovery after I'd done the laying on of hands a few times, the medicos confessed themselves bewildered. He's 12 now. This spring, he was runner-up in the Southwest Area Tap Dancing Championship.
Oh, how fantastic!
Oh, yes. Happy feet, I've got those happy feet. Give me the load of beat.
Do you really think you could work a miracle?
If a miracle happens, it's only through me. But remember Jairus' daughter. Damsel, I say unto thee, arise. Who knows? Maybe in a few years, we'll see poor Joe. And little crackers in my soup, lions and tigers, blue.
But you wouldn't do it! He was a good man, kind and sincere.
Yes, he was.
And I thought it was cured.
Certainly improved. And yes, he was a runner-up in the Southwest Area Tap Dancing Championship, but he never had been as bad as Joe.
I don't care.
I made some inquiries.
You shouldn't have.
I spoke to some people.
Where was the harm? What else did we have?
Nothing.
Well,
Nothing is better than a pack of lies.
you're unusual.
First he'd have done it for us. Then he'd have brought his mates in to give the prayers more whoosh, more power. And then he'd have had us doing it in the church, gloated over, like a Death Watch Beatles are the victims of a disaster.
It could have worked. He might have magicked her.
Sheila, it was better that we found out now before it was too late, before your hopes had been built up. Anyway, the vicar had sorted her out. She'd only had one personality. As it is, over the years, we've given her dozens.
As soon as we were admitted to the Freemasonry of spastic parents, we realized she had even less character than the other children, so we began to make them up for her.
Some never really suited.
No, like the concert pianist dying of TB.
Or the girl who was tragically in love with a darky against her parents' wishes.
That was based on, would you let your daughter marry one?
I used to like the old bag that threw bottles at us if we didn't give her a gin and pipe tobacco.
They were all too active. Well, the facial expression wasn't right.
The one that stuck is the coach tour lady. Powder pink felt hat, white gloves, Cuban heel shoes, swagger coat.
Seasick pills in her handbag, just in case there was a lot of twisting and turning.
She hates foreigners.
Oh, and council houses.
And sharpening. She knows to her own cost what it can lead to.
Loves the Queen.
And Jesus. She sees him as a sort of eccentric Englishman. Lawrence of Arabia.
Very disapproving of pleasure.
Oh, not all pleasure. A nice Julie Andrews film with tea afterwards.
Tea in the Odeon Cafe.
Nothing nicer. Which reminds me, I'm supposed to be giving a tea in this play we started doing.
We got sidetracked.
I'm sorry to say that maybe she like me on the carpet, leaving us stuck in there like Joey.
I join in these jokes to please him. Well, if it helps me to live with her, I can't see the harm. Can you? He hasn't any faith she's ever going to improve. Where I have, you see. I believe even if she showed improvement, for I wouldn't notice. He's dense about faith. Faith isn't believing in fairy tales, it's being in a receptive state of mind. I'm always on the lookout for some sign. When she was, about 12 months old, I suppose, she was lying on the floor kicking her legs about, and I was doing the flat. I'd made a little tower of 4-coloured bricks, plastic bricks, on a rug near her head. I got on with the dusting. When I looked again, I saw she'd knocked them down. When I put the 4 bricks up again, and this time watched her. First her eyes, usually moving in all directions, must have glanced at passing at this bright tower. And then the arm that side began to show real signs of intention, and the fist started clenching and spreading with the effort. The other arm, held there like that, didn't move. At all. Well, you see the significance. She'd begun to use for the first time one arm instead of both. She'd seen something, touched it, and found that when she tapped it, whatever it was changed, fell down. Now the bent arm started twitching towards the bricks. Must have taken, I should think, 10 minutes strenuous labour to reach them with her fingers. Then the arm jerked in a spasm, and she pulled down the tower. I can't tell you what that was like, but you can imagine, can't you? Several times the arm nearly touched her and then got jerked away by a spasm, and she'd try again. Well, that was the best of it. She had a will. She had a mind of her own. As soon as Bri came home, I told him. I think he said something stupid like, "That's great, put her down for piano lessons." But when he tried, putting the bricks along the circle of her reach, and sometimes out of reach so that she had to stretch to get there, well, he saw it was true. There wasn't much to wait for. One arm movement completed, and even that wasn't sure. She'd fall asleep. The firelight would distract her. Sometimes the effort would bring on a fit, but more often than not she'd manage, and a vegetable couldn't have done that. Visitors never believed it. They hadn't the patience to wait so long. And it amazed me. I remember being stunned when I realized they thought I shouldn't deceive myself. When in the first place it wasn't deception. In any case, what else could I do? We got very absorbed in the daily games, found in coloured balls and bells, and a Kelly, those clowns that won't lie down. And then she got some bug and was very sick. Fit after fit. The Grand Mel, not the others. that amounted to a complete relapse. When she was over it, we tried the bricks again, but she couldn't even seem to see them. That was when Bry lost interest in her. I still try, but I don't bother telling him about it. I'll tell him when something happens. I think that if she did it once, she could do it again. I think while there's life, there's hope, don't you? I wish he'd talk more seriously about her. I wonder if he ever imagines what she'd be like if her brain worked. I do. And of course, Bright Mother always says, wouldn't she be lovely if she was running about? Which makes Bright hoot with laughter. But I think of it too. Perhaps it's being a woman.